Hi, welcome to the video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy, and comment your thoughts and opinions on the stories. Let's get started. Am I the antagonist for telling my cousin she isn't as pretty as she thinks she is? My 16F cousin, 17F, is very blunt. She says what she feel, and I don't have a problem with it most of the time. I normally let her talk, although I don't agree with what she says. There are some things that my cousin would say that I would tell not to do though. Whenever I would show her a picture of one of my friends, she would call them ugly and my assumptions on how she thinks they act. I don't think any of my friends are ugly and the assumptions she makes are always wrong. Yesterday I invited her to hang out with me and my friends. She agreed. We hung out and talked, then my cousin looks my friend dead in her eyes and says, "You're not that pretty. Now that I actually look at you." That friend of mine is very insecure about her looks, and I told my cousin this beforehand. My friend excused herself to the bathroom and 2 other girls followed. I was so angry at my cousin. She knew that my friend had insecurities, and she thought it'd be okay for her to point out that she was ugly. I turned to look at my cousin and I raised my voice and told her that she wasn't as pretty as she thinks she is, and that my friend is way prettier. My cousin stood up and walked away. She looked as if she wanted to cry. When I got home, my aunt was there with my cousin on the couch. They want me to apologize, but I don't want to. She disrespected my friend. My whole family is mad at me and am no longer allowed at family functions until I apologize. Am I the antagonist? Now for the top comments. NTA. Family is enabling that behavior, and honestly it's unacceptable. Your cousin isn't blunt. She's rude. I disagree. Cousin isn't rude, she's just plain nasty. NTA. Here's your apology. I'm sorry you used brutal honesty to just be brutal. I'm sorry I ever invited you to meet my friends, and I'm sorry you made my friend cry in the bathroom. However, I'm not sorry you got a taste of the brutal side of honesty. Maybe now you'll consider what you say and who you say it to. Add that I sorry the family insist on enabling your unforgivable rude behavior. NTA. It sounds like your family has been enabling your cousin's behavior. Stick to your guns on this. Blood or not. Not all family is worth holding on to, and your cousin sounds like a B. I should add this in. My family heard all the sides of the story and say that family comes first. BC, we are blood. They say my friend overreacted. My aunt said insecurity is just a reason to cry or something like that. My sister won't go to family functions until I'm allowed to go back. I love her for that. I love her anyways, cuss my sister. Am I the antagonist for calling out my daughter's troop leader for excluding her? My 36F daughter, 12F, has been in Girl Scouts since she was 6. She has really loved it and wanted to continue every year. She is autistic, and socializing isn't something that she loves doing. But Girl Scouts has always been a safe place for her that she's enjoyed. This year, we changed troops. Leadership in her previous troop changed, and the activities changed along with it. We looked for a troop that is more active, and we were thrilled when we found one with a leader that has experience with the autism spectrum. Most of the girls were a little older than her, but a couple were her age and grade level. Everything started out wonderfully. All the girls were inclusive, and all the leaders and parents were accepting. After the first month, it slowly began to change. Gradually everyone became less inclusive, and my daughter started coming up with excuses not to go. When she did go, she would come home saying she had a great time. After cookie season ended, the troop announced they'd be going camping for a weekend. All the girls were excited about that. I was told that it'd be required to attend with my daughter, which was understandable. She was so excited to go. Well, a couple weeks before the trip was scheduled, I was notified that I needed to come up with $140 for my daughter and I to go. I'm the sole supporter of our family and we are surviving. But coming up with $140 in a short time is not possible. Once I told them that I couldn't afford that and we couldn't go, everything changed quickly. I stopped receiving the meeting notification texts. All of my messages to troop leaders were left on read. All communication ceased. I reached out to another parent that confirmed that there was a meeting the day before, and she looked at the group chat and said I was definitely not included. I reached out to the troop leaders and asked why my daughter was being excluded. When that went unanswered, I sent a message saying that it wasn't fair because she is an amazing girl and the fact that they are excluding her is not right. Apparently that's what makes me tar. I got a text back almost instantly saying that if that's what I think about her and her troop, then we are no longer welcome. I wrote back that we hadn't been welcome in a while, and that's where we left it. Am I the antagonist for calling them out for excluding my daughter? I don't believe I am. But even the other moms won't talk to me. Sorry about errors, and if I'm all over the place, I'm still upset about all of it. Now for the top comments. NTA and report them to the national organization. Sounds like discrimination to me. Girl Scouts is normally a fine organization. This troop leader needs to explain herself. Agreed. I'm part of the organization in another country and they should 100% know about this behavior, which is not okay. Then find a better unit/group if you can. I think it just depends on the troop. I was in elementary school and I still remember being excluded in my Girl Scout troop, them not informing my parents/me of meetings, even though they were held at my school after hours. I was excited to go on the camping trip and they told me I wasn't allowed to attend since I didn't reach my meeting quota. NTA. Contact council. This is unacceptable. Council will likely help you and your girl if needed. Duel her for a year or two. Info, did they ask anyone else for $140 for this trip? Or just you? Just me. But I think it's because I had to attend with my daughter. The troop paid the bills for the troop leaders and chaperones. Am I the antagonist for not skipping my golf trip for my girlfriend's sister's wedding? So it sounds bad, but hear me out on this. I, 26 male, have been dating PJ, 27F, for right around a year, but were friends for a few years before we started dating. I'm a huge golfer and due to the pandemic and a move across the country, I haven't seen my friends in over 2 years. We made a plan a year ago to go on a golfing trip together. Everything is paid for, about 1k in total for the flights, hotels and all golfing expenses. It has been a big deal for our group. PJ has a sister that I don't get along with at all. When we first met it was fine. She was just a very entitled person. Her husband at the time was well off, so she was a trophy wife and never worked. Then we realized we had different political ideals and this led to some heated conversations. I tried to avoid them typically, but Erin, PJ's sister, would always go at me. I got sick of it and just started ignoring her totally. This led to a fight with PJ, so I started just giving one-word answers to her sister whenever we had to be around each other. The final straw came when Erin got divorced. Erin's ex-husband was fooling around with one of Erin's friends, so she started spending more time at our place. I'd come home and she'd be there already with my GF stirring up crap. Erin started telling me that I needed to work harder at work to earn more money because it was unfair that PJ had to work when I should be providing for the both of us. I said, well, that is your opinion. Personally, I always want whoever I'm with to financial add to the household. I don't want a trophy wife. Erin laughed and said that was ridiculous and how were we gonna raise kids? And just a few other derogatory comments. I kinda snapped and said, well, Erin, your husband provided for you and then cheated on you. So if you don't mind, I'll probably take relationship advice from another source. Well, this started a huge shitstorm and we haven't spoken since. That was about a year ago now. Erin moved a few states away and now is engaged again. Like a 5-month relationship and they are already engaged. PJ is desperately trying to get me to go. But here is the issue. The wedding is the same weekend as my golfing trip. I told PJ from the first time I heard the date that I wouldn't be going. Well, she didn't take it well and is demanding I go with her to an important family event. My point is that I've already spent 1k on this trip. Her sister and I hate each other and this is a rebound marriage that won't last anyway. So what is the point of dragging me there? I said, if I cancel this trip, will I be reimbursed? Will you pay for my ticket to the wedding? It's a few states away. PJ said she won't pay me back or pay for the ticket because she is saving up for a down payment. I said, then I'm not canceling a trip and paying for a new one for a person who I can't stand. She is saying I'm being an R. but I don't think this is a fair ask at all. Am I the antagonist? Now for the top comments. NTA. This should not be the hill PJ wants to die on. Go on your golf trip. Reevaluate your relationship. Nothing in this post said anything about PJ defending Op or shutting down her sister. GF is waving big marinara flags. NTA. But there will be fallout for you. More importantly, you and PJ both need to think long and hard about how many times you want to refight this battle. Because this is your future. Depends on how many rich guys Erin can convince to marry her before she ages out of trophy wife contention. If PJ didn't defend you when Erin said you should work more so she doesn't have to, then go golfing and maybe don't come back. NTA. Yep, I read this and in my head went, oh, PJ stayed silent. Bet she wants to be a kept woman too. Am I the antagonist for not defending my mom against my GF? 23 male and my GF is 21. We have known each other since we were 7 and 9 and she's always been a huge part of my life. I was best friends with her brother and over to their farm most of my childhood and teenage years. I have multiple reasons for not defending my mother when my GF went off on her. One being that I felt everything my GF said was truthful, and 2, she is a soft-spoken woman. She never speaks badly to or on anyone. And 3, I watched what her and her brother went through growing up. My GF and Billy had a mama who only cared about the dogs and her husband. There wasn't a maternal bone in that woman's body. They bred dogs, so there was always 30 plus dogs running around. There were nights where my parents would pack a small dinner for me to bring to them because they didn't have money to feed both them and the dogs most days. When I was 15, Billy and Cindy were taken by CPS for malnutrition and neglect. It made papers. There was even one point in time where one of the male dogs got to Cindy and she needed 60 something stitches on her back. She has a huge scar. Her parents screamed at her for it because of the bill and blamed her for them not eating. Because of this, Cindy will go out of her way to avoid dogs. Billy is the same way. The moment they get around a dog they both clam up, stop talking, get fidgety, etc. I started dating Cindy when I was 17, but it had been in the works 4 years prior. I have always loved this girl. My mom invited us for dinner Friday and I told Cindy we didn't have to go because my mom has 2 dogs. Whenever we eat they are right up to the table. They jump on everyone. Super untrained. But Cindy said she wanted to go to keep the peace and said she would try to just look past it. She did try. I could see how uncomfortable she was the entire time and I did my best to keep the dogs off her cause every time they jumped she put her arms up in defense and gasped. She was terrified. My mom on the other hand kept saying that my GF needed to get over it. The dogs are family and ain't going nowhere, etc. Cindy was quiet the whole time. My mom ended up letting the dogs at the table and the bigger of the 2 dogs was right at Cindy's arm nudging her for scraps. My mom was getting angry that Cindy wasn't dropping him some food, and despite me telling my mom to stop, she didn't. Eventually Cindy snapped, told my mom she was selfish, inconsiderate and didn't have a wink of respect and that due to this, she had lost all hope of a good relationship with her and walked out. My mom immediately starts going off on me about not defending her. I told her my GF was right and left. Cindy was crying. She ain't never spoke to someone like that. But I calmed her down and told her she was right and I would never put her in that position again. But my mom has been blowing me up trying to forbid me from pursuing Cindy further because she doesn't respect her elders and we won't have that in our family. Am I the antagonist? Now for the top comments. NTA, you don't just get over major trauma from a dog attack, especially when it's compounded with mental, verbal and physical abuse from the birth givers. Your mom should have put the dogs in another room, or trained them to start with, after she realized they were making the dinner awkward. Your GF tried, and your mother pushed her to her breaking point. That's on your mother. You are 23 and able to decide who to date and marry, and have a life with. Your mom can either accept it, or accept that she'll push you to BLC or NC. Oh boy, I hate telling this story, but when I was 4 or 5 a dog that belonged to our neighbors was out wandering the streets unleashed. Me and my brother let him into our house while our grandma was outside gardening. The dog in question was a pit bull, and to a 4/5-year-old huge. He killed and ate our cat. I literally had to drag this dog, who was busy eating the neck of my grandma's cat, out of me and my brother's room and down the stairs. I had to hit it with a pillow multiple times. I still get nervous around pit bulls. Do I blame the dog? No, I blame the owners because me and my brother would play with their dog sometimes and he never hurt us. But these idiots left their door wide open one day and he got out and a horrible accident occurred because of their negligence. You do not get over major trauma like that ever, and Ops Mom is a complete empathy void koala. NTA, and good for you for sticking up for your GF. What kind of R invites someone over, knowing they have trauma, and repeatedly triggers them intentionally? What is wrong with your mom? I could blame it on my mom's upbringing. My grandparents are deep, old school southerners. Very much so. You address us by sir and ma'am, and never disobey and blah blah. My mom was raised on that, and since she was raised on that, she believes that you just need to automatically bite your tongue and give the utmost respect to your elders, even if they don't deserve it. Since I have sided with my GF, she is telling the whole family I'm rebelling against her. Am I the antagonist for getting upset and telling my dad his girlfriend didn't buy me a Starbucks drink? I, 17F, have been living with my dad, 45 male, his girlfriend of 2 years, 33F, and her daughter, 13F, for a couple of months now, while my mom, 40F, is visiting my sick grandfather in Sweden. I've only ever stayed at my dad's on weekends, so it's been hard getting used to living with his GF and her kid full time. The kid is super winny and pretty spoiled because GF dotes on her, so I usually just stay in my room. Today GF was taking her daughter on a special outing because she passed a math test, and my dad suggested I go with them for a girls' day out. I wanted to say no, but I knew that he wanted me to get to know his GF and GF's daughter better, so I agreed. He gave GF $300 to spend during the outing. We spent the day going in and out of stores GF's daughter liked in the mall complex. GF ended up buying her a shit ton of clothes, makeup, and other stuff I don't remember. On our way back home, GF stopped at the Starbucks cause daughter wanted a drink and some Caca Pops. She ordered a drink for her and her daughter and 2 cake pops. I asked her if I could get something, and she said she ran out of money and she'd get me something next time. When they got their order, I asked if I could have one of the Caca Pops, and GF said that it was her daughter's treat for hard work and it would be wrong for me to take one since I didn't do anything that deserved being rewarded. I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty upset. When we got back home, my dad saw their drinks and asked where mine was. I told him that I wasn't allowed to get one cause I don't deserve it. His GF got upset and said I was twisting her words, and the daughter just said I was being greedy and was jealous of her. I know I'm not entitled to a drink or a Caca Pop, but I also don't think it's wrong to be a little annoyed. Am I the antagonist? Now for the top comments. You are definitely not the a-hole. GF was though. But, spill the tea. What was your dad's reaction to GF's slam excuses? This happened 30 minutes ago, and before he said anything I just went up to my room. I'm hearing yelling from downstairs though. I love my dad a lot, and he has always looked out for me, so I don't think he wouldn't believe me. Op, I have to point out that your dad got his wish. You got to know his GF and her daughter a whole lot better. If they wanted you to have good stories about them, they ought to have treated you with kindness. I hope your dad is paying attention to the sort of people he's living with. NTA. Op, I have to point out that your dad got his wish. You got to know his GF and her daughter a whole lot better. Ouch. Good point. NTA. It was your dad's money, and obviously intended to facilitate the girls' day for the 3 of you. They sound like awful people. Am I the antagonist for refusing to pay to get his car fixed from my college fund? Me, F22, and this guy, M27, Paul, have been going out on few dates for 2 months. We met on Tinder. We really like each other, but haven't officially started dating yet. So I don't call him BF and vice versa. We are still getting to know each other and the things we love vs hate. So for the past couple of weeks he's been sending me pics of his car that has been sitting in the mechanic, his cousin's, shop for weeks. He went on and on about what needs fixing and made a long list and calculated the total, then sent it to me as a screenshot. I looked at it wondering what is have to do with me. He told me about his financial hardship ATM and asked if I could help pay for his car to get it fixed quickly so he'll be able to take me on that road trip he promised. I felt uncomfortable. BC, the money he was talking about was around 5k and I don't have that kind of money on my hand. He brought up my college fund and suggested I skip one semester so I could pay for the car. I was shocked he brought that up. IDK, he knows how important college is for me, but he assured me he'll pay me back on time and that I only have to skip one semester and that's it. I asked for time to think about it, but after he kept calling I decided to just give a polite no. He asked why, and I told him it's because my education is my priority and I can't handle skipping a semester, even if it's one. He hung up saying he needed time, then texted me saying that I did not show support after he made himself open and vulnerable, and that I chose money over him by refusing to lend it to him, and that he is struggling and in need, and that didn't matter to me. I felt really guilty and I started calling him, but he texted me saying that he might respond when I make room for a compromise. Am I the antagonist for refusing to pay? Edit. He had me talk to his cousin about the car. I also visited his place and met his parents, so it's not like I don't know his address. Now for the top comments. NTA, this guy is pulling every trick in the book to manipulate you into giving him money. Giving, not loaning. BC, you'll never see a dime back. And likely with a whole bunch of other chicks. And the red flag of the week award goes to this guy. OHH boy, it's Monday, but I already can be sure by that he's lover scamming you. You are definitely not the a-hole. You should not just don't give him the money. You also shouldn't give him any further attention. When he's able to pay back in time, he's able to do so to his cousin. You're not choosing money above love. He doesn't now blackmailing you. Go no contact now if he's not doing so because he doesn't get the money. Lover scamming is the first thing that came to my mind too. Sounds like the start of the Tinder swindler, which I'd suggest watch if she hasn't already.